There you go. Are we doing the same order?
Everyone, this is Kayla Hall. She is applying for our new athletic training position.
Hello.
You can have a seat right over here.
All right.
Okay, we will get started. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're excited to have you potentially work with our company. We've got just a few questions, and we'll give some opportunities for you to ask some questions as well. So I'd like for us to go ahead and get started. So as you know, your position is going to be an outreach position. So
Yes, sir.
you'll be hired by us as the clinic, but we'll be sending you out to a local high school. The high school we're sending you is very successful. They have a very strong football program, very successful football program, and they have a very demanding football coach. As a matter of fact, some of the reasons that we've had a little bit of turnover in this position is because this coach is very demanding of the expectations of their athletic trainer. Will you discuss your qualities and past experiences that have prepared you for this demanding role you're going to need to take?
Okay. So I've had some experience working with our college men's soccer team, and the coach for that one, he's pretty understanding for the most part, but he's pretty demanding about as far as knowing what's going on with the athletes, and like he likes to be updated and kept in the loop with everything. So I'm in the habit of making daily injury reports or just like updates of how injured players are doing or who's coming in to get treatment and rehab, and sending those out to him at the end of the day, as well as just like communicating with him throughout practice and everything like that. He's also known for being very flexible with his schedule, so we'll get a phone call 30 minutes before practice telling us, oh, practice has changed, we're going to a different location. So just being really flexible with stuff like that, as far as just being open to changing plans, working with him, and doing just really whatever he wants as far as where things are.
Okay. Jeff?
With that, how do you feel? In that time, has he ever like questioned, what you guys have been telling him in terms of, I hear what you're saying, but, I think this guy can play, or we really need this guy this game. Has he been, have you ever been in a situation where that, he's sort of pressing the envelope of getting the player back a little before what you guys think he should be?
He has a little bit. We've recently had several players out with different injuries. One had an interesting ankle thing come up that we sent him to doctors, and they've had him on antibiotics, but they can't figure out what's wrong. We had another boy just recently get mono, so that put a whole lot of our offense out for our soccer team. And so he's been a little pushy, like, are you sure he can't play yet? Like, we really need him this weekend and stuff like that. But in those situations, we've had the doctors that have also been on our side saying, no, the boy with mono, like his spleen's enlarged, he can't play yet. The boy that had this ankle injury that was just like a random thing that came up that wasn't really an injury, just kind of like blew up on him. We've had the doctors saying he can't play until he's off the antibiotics. And so like we've had some pushback from him, like wanting players back faster and questioning us a little bit. But in those situations, we have had doctors' opinions as well, where they're on our side. And in the end, he's ended up agreeing with us as far as not putting them in.
Anybody got anything else on that? What do you feel sets you apart from the other applicants that are applying for this position?
So I've actually been homeschooled my entire life, which has given me some unique opportunities. I was able to get a certification at the age of 15 for something called electrodermal stress analysis, which uses a computerized program to check through meridian points the different energy systems in the body to check for any type of like blocked energies, and then the computer program will recommend different homeopathics and detoxes through that. So that was a unique opportunity that I got, as well as after I graduated high school, I was at a community college in Gallatin, Tennessee, Volunteer State Community College, and I was actually pursuing a degree in elementary education with the hopes of being a physical education teacher. And I took a care and prevention class that was taught by an athletic trainer that just really changed my mind about like what I wanted to do. And so I graduated from there with an associate's degree in exercise science, and then went to Lee University to get a bachelor's in athletic training. While I was in school at the community college, I also worked for the YMCA in after school care with children, and then worked 3 years with their summer camps. So I've had quite a bit of experience working with children and having to communicate with their parents about things that have happened throughout the day that they might need to know about, and just dealing with different things with elementary school kids as far as like small little injuries, cuts, bumps when they're playing and doing stuff that I've had to talk to parents about and let them know like what's going on.
So you said, what was it called, the computer system that reads energy?
Electrodermal stress analysis.
How would you plan to use that in your athletic training practice?
There's actually a whole system like inside the program that deals with different joints, bones, ligaments, and stuff like that. So it could be used to even like check as far as if there's a problem with, say, someone like spraying something, you could check to see if like there's an imbalance in energy in that area, as well as referring them to a doctor. But then there is supplements that this homeopathic company that I'm certified through makes that that's supposed to be like ligament support, joint support, stuff like that, that could also be used like with parents' consent.
So based on some of that background that you gave us and your personal experiences at Lee, what would you say some of your biggest weaknesses are?
My biggest weakness is I can be too competitive, and in being competitive and wanting to do my best, sometimes I can lose sight of like smaller things that need to be done or that I should have done, but also like the competitiveness drives me to be able to do better in things and to work on stuff. Another thing that I kind of struggle with is organization. I'm not the most organized person, but I work on that by keeping a planner of what's going on throughout the day. When something comes up, I write it down so I can just kind of have everything in front of me and be able to see what's going on.
When's the last time that you did a full injury note and rehab note in your documentation system?
It would have been last week when I evaluated an ankle injury and then set up the rehab program for that athlete.
So within the clinic, we've utilized athletic trainers in the past, and with you, we would like you to work 10 hours per week in the clinic. So in the past, athletic trainers have assisted PTs with rehab and performed cleaning and administrative duties. So how do you feel that you would be best used to contribute as a member of the clinic team?
As far as like rehab goes, or
Just in general?
in general, I work pretty well with others. You give me a job to do, like I'll do it to the best of my ability. I also, if I see something that needs to be done as far as cleaning, somebody struggling with something, I do take initiative to step forward and help out with what I see needs done.
Okay, so if you say you had a high school kid that you sent to that clinic, post-surgical, and they're doing things in there, and then at the high school they see you and they're like, hey, can you do this? Like, you saw me do it at the clinic, but it's something that you're not certified to do. How would you go about handling that?
I would explain to them that even though I work through the clinic, I still have supervisors, and there's certain things that I'm not trained to do, and that's something that they have to do at the clinic. I would be happy to like try and get them an appointment or talk to the physician that they're working with to let them know what they're needing, but it's not something that I would be doing for them at the school.
So, Kayla, this position that you're going to be having, you're going to be interacting with high school students and middle school students, boys and girls, which, I mean, with experience you said you've had with lots of kids, you know that there's wild differences between boys and girls and that those different age groups. So, in regards to professionalism, how do you think, it kind of describe to us how you're going to handle those situations, specifically related to professionalism and how you're going to deal with a middle school girl versus an 11th grade boy. That's just one example, but kind of give an explanation of that.
Okay, so I would be somebody that they could come to, just talk to, like just be approachable as far as them coming to need stuff, but also keeping like a professional front, like not being overly friendly or seeing them outside of school like as much as what is in my control, and just make sure they know like I'll be their friend, like in the school setting. If they need something, they can talk to me, but it's also going to be a professional relationship to where like there are boundaries.
And how would you communicate differently with parents of a middle schooler versus parents of a high schooler? Kind of how would you see that play out differently in the job setting?
With a middle schooler, I would probably communicate with their parents a little differently as far as like when they're that age. Sports can be a big deal to them and their parents, but also injuries can be a huge deal at that age. So even if it's something minor and the parent doesn't see it as being an issue, just let them know that like just because of growth and like where they're at in life, like it could be a big deal later if they push them too much at that point compared to a high schooler where like that still is a factor, but not as big a factor as if it was a middle schooler. But just like keeping that open communication with the parents where they know that they can talk to me about things and I'm going to be honest with them and let them know what's going on with their children.
Dr. Knight, do you have any questions?
Just one, kudos, is it the word? Kudos. Hand clap to your response about communicating with coaches. I mean, communication is so, I hear that's a strong suit of yours, and the way you do that and to do it regularly as a routine to the coaches heads off problems with difficult coaches and difficult situations if you're on top of that communication part. Also, clearly you're working on a relationship always when you're trying to stay in communication with those folks. Communication with parents is different. You're going to be talking to them mostly around injuries or illnesses or how they're performing or how they're not performing. And so just as a hypothetical, if I was a parent and I'm asking you, why can't, what's up with my daughter playing, not being benched and not being able to play so much with a jumper's knee problem. I don't understand when she comes home, she seems to be okay around the house, and I've mashed around on her knee, and I'm not a medical person, but I'm a mother, and I don't think that she's got that. I can't tell that she's got that much wrong with her. I think she's been a big baby and she needs to be playing. So if that's a mother's response to you, kind of just walk me through how you might deal with that mother.
I would just try to explain things to her, like in a way that she can understand that it might not appear to be that big of an issue when she's at home and not being quite as active as when she would be participating in her sport at school. And while the pain tolerance thing might be a factor, we don't want to push her daughter to the point where she is competing with pain. I might suggest that she take her to one of our orthopedics if she wants a second opinion on something. She could do some type of rehab there, whatever the mom is most comfortable with doing, but just try and make her happy as far as like explaining my thought process to her and why I've chosen to do what I have.
I'm reassured.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. So we have a pretty close community when it comes to especially high school sports. Everybody likes to come out for football games. Everybody likes to come out for basketball. How would you react if one of the team moms who you have a regular relationship with asks you how another player is doing? Say your star quarterback got hurt and she's really concerned about him, so she's saying, hey, how's Johnny doing?
I would tell her that I appreciate her concern for him, but I'm not allowed to give her any details on another child. If she would like to know how he is, she can ask her son that's playing with him how he is. She can go to his mom, or she can go to him and ask him how he's doing. But I'm not allowed to give any details of his injury.
Do you think you'd be able to do that without coming off as rude?
I would do my best to, yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yes, I do have a couple. So, on the job description, one of the things that was said was I needed to be able to get a Tennessee or Mississippi license. Is there a chance that I'm going to be working in Mississippi?
No, that's general. We have clinics in Mississippi, we
Okay.
have clinics in Tennessee, but you would be working solely in Tennessee. We wouldn't
Okay.
be sending you to Mississippi.
All right.
Good question. I don't like Mississippi.
Also, there's said I had no primary clinical responsibilities. So that would be limited to the 10 hours that
Yes,
was brought up?
not primary, but every now and then we are going to need some help. And
Okay.
so about 10 hours a week is what we would expect.
all right.
Now, I will say that during the off season, for instance, Christmas break or summer where you don't have any primary responsibilities, then we would increase that at the clinic.
Okay, awesome. Also in the job description, it said to come along other athletic trainers, to come alongside them. Is there other athletic trainers at the school I'm going to be working at, or will I be the only trainer at that
No,
particular
you'll
school?
be the only athletic trainer at that particular school.
Okay.
However, we do host a lot of events in our community, big regional events, things like that. And at that time, we want all the athletic trainers working together as a group.
Okay, awesome. I had one more question. It said something in there about occasional travel. What exactly does that mean?
Well, when our teams are traveling, especially football is a primary team you need to travel with. Our expectation is that you're going to be traveling with them.
Okay. All right, that's great.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you for your time. Do you have anything for us?
I think that's all.
Okay. All right. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much,
so much.
Kayla. We really appreciate
Thanks
your
for
time.
having me.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you. It's nice to meet y'all.
Yep. You can close that door behind you. I'm going to keep the camera rolling so we can hear the debriefing. I should have done that with Tyler's as well, so I can't remember everything. What do you think?
I think she did excellent, but I have concerns about bringing up this certification.
Okay, I'll say that might be a little bit on me from the standpoint of I talked to them about you need something that identifies you as different.
Yeah.
And that's something that she has, a certification that she has that most other entry-level folks are not going to have.
Yeah, I think she can use that, but it needs to be emphasized in a different way. She needs to say, I have experience with something unique, so I had developed this from the ground up. I had to take initiative to do, it was more about the qualities that
Because it made me feel
than
like,
the actual.
are you going to start selling this stuff to our kids?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Right.
And I think she I don't know if there's a way to do it, but there might be a way to explain them a little more scientifically, like you can with a lot of other Eastern philosophies.
Right.
You can sell it a little more scientifically, and I think that's kind of why I questioned her a little bit more
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
I definitely think she can use it, but I don't think that it needs to be it doesn't need to be the first thing she lists.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that anytime you're getting outside the traditional treatment model, you're getting hired for your certified skills,
Mhm.
you run the risk not knowing who you're talking to.
Right.
Yeah.
Running into prejudice, right?
Yeah.
Right off the bat, some people are gonna say, I don't want this person.
Oh, great, we're hiring a hippie.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think if she did it right, did a little bit softer, it would be.
Okay.
She did a really good job
Otherwise, yeah.
about using her weaknesses and explaining her weaknesses and kind of turning those into how she's learned from them and
Right.
moves forward.
She only had one copy of her resume. She didn't even hand it to us.
Yeah, that-
was a big weakness.
That was the huge
That was the
thing
number
that
one.
I want the resumes first, so I
Yeah.
can be asking them stuff on the resume. Like
Right.
I just looked at
Or
some of
confirming what they're saying.
those.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. Anything else on her?
She just needed to calm down.
She did pretty good. At first she was
At
like,
first
She was
yeah,
shaky.
She,
Yeah.
she was
Yeah.
a little
I was the
nervous.
same way.
Yeah,
She did
at
good,
first,
though.
like, and she kept like she couldn't get her words out at first, and I just
Yeah.
was like, just calm down.
She also
Yeah.
needs to
She
smile.
did better.
Yeah, smile.
She looked
Yeah,
very
I think
serious,
it-
almost concerned at times, and
Not enjoying it.
and
not
she kept
excited.
looking down at her own resume
Yeah.
instead of looking at us. And I even noticed that sometimes, like when her question with you, Bree, she was looking next to you. She wasn't looking directly at you. Like she wasn't
I
making
didn't
eye
notice that.
contact.